The following video y'all about to watch is basically a replay where I was talking about how to fix your credit from A to Z. You don't gotta pay nobody, the consumer laws, all that. Just want to show y'all the views that can happen once you fix that credit. So prioritize that credit, protect your credit, and just make sure you take action based off of the video. If you get value from it, if you want to join our community for $39 a month for additional help, you can do that. But feel free to just use the content that I'm about to show you right now. Just on the balcony right now, just observing the view and showing y'all what could be possible for y'all too. With that being said, enjoy the video. Y'all be blessed.
All right, it's recording now. How's everybody doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
Michael, you look
I'm
familiar.
blessed.
You look
Do I look
familiar,
familiar?
Michael.
Oh, someone's
Yeah,
trying to
you
enter the room right now.
You can
I look familiar?
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it, but I've seen you somewhere.
Seen
YouTube.
someone?
I watch his videos.
Or you watching my videos?
You on YouTube,
Appreciate
right?
you. I'm definitely on YouTube. We got damn near 3,000 videos.
Yeah,
But,
absolutely.
yeah, you probably see me on YouTube, maybe as IG. We on LinkedIn, so. But most people see me from YouTube, so.
You did a like a 2-part series on CFPB, no?
We put out so much content. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But tonight we're gonna go through the A to Z. I was speaking with Bree as far as the presentation. I don't know what y'all know or what y'all don't know, so I'm gonna go through like a brief presentation, and then we just gonna get straight into Q&A. And I think that'll be the most valuable way to go ahead and do it. But let me share my screen, and we can get straight into the presentation. Hold on. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Set allow. All right, we're gonna do a web style. I'm gonna come back on camera once we get to the actual Q&A. If y'all want to see me, you can go to my IG, Michael Benjamin, or go to my YouTube. So with that being said, hold on. I just hit this thing. Y'all can still see the presentation, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, let's get straight into it. So how to fix your credit without being a consumer law expert. Presented by yours truly. So just quick housekeeping rules. I just hope that y'all take action with the information I give y'all tonight. Like I said, we're going to go through a brief presentation, and then we just going to get straight into Q&A, because I think that would be where y'all will get the most benefit. All right, so I just want to know if y'all could just, you could say it out loud, I guess, or if you want to put it in the comments where y'all are tapping in from. I just like to know who I'm talking to, So let me know, or say it out loud, put it in the comments. I just want to know where y'all actually tapping in from.
My name is Rich. I'm tapping in from Los Angeles, Cali.
Yeah. Okay, Cali, that's what's up. Anybody else, if you want to just put it in the comments, as we go through the presentation, I would like to just know where you're tapping in from. But our objectives today, we just got 2 simple objectives. If you've seen my content, if you've seen me online and everything, I like to make things super simple, because I don't like overcomplicating things. We got a lot going on in life. We don't got to overcomplicate nothing. So number 1 is we're going to discuss how to build a perfect fundable credit profile. Number 2, we're going to learn how to delete any negative item legally on your credit using consumer laws. When I say any, I mean any item. Like if you read the laws, y'all will be able to see what I'm saying. So we're going to get into that. So what I need y'all to realize is that this can possibly be the single night that changes your life forever if you are not lazy. So just remember that as well. I'm assuming y'all are not lazy. Y'all made an investment in yourselves of being a Breeze group. So I have no doubt that y'all will be able to, take action with the information. So I just want to go through just a little bit of my story, because, everyone has a story. So back in the day, I went to college. I graduated with a chemical engineering degree. I was working as an engineer for years while I was taking on multiple failed side hustles. And then I started my first LLC in 2018. Fast forward, I self-published a book in 2019 called The Power of Yet. And then I was doing speaking engagements, as you can see right there. And at the same time, I was always just hungry for information. So I was investing, you know, a lot of money into my personal development, just trying to figure out how do I leave my 9 to 5. Fast forward till now, February 2021, I invested $3,500 specifically in a mentor and many more mentors. But that led me to learning about credit and consumer laws. And I just continued to invest, you know, continue to learn about what I was doing. I started my business called CAT, Consumer Ammunition Tactics, in 2021. I retired my 6-figure 9 to 5 job in June of 2022. And then now I'm just basically, as some of y'all have seen me on YouTube, I'm on a mission to help fund $1 billion to small business owners. The foundation of that is what we're talking about today, which is good personal credit. So if I could literally use this skill to be able to leave a 6-figure 9 to 5 job, I don't know if y'all working 9 to 5 in here, but you should definitely be able to copy and paste what I'm telling you to do and at least get some results, even if you don't take it as like a business per se. So I just wanted to just put it on the screen because we got to look at some results for deletion of items because I want y'all to realize that you guys are next. I don't know if someone's not on mute, but if y'all can make sure you're on mute, just so you know, the recording not coming a little weird. So 37 hard inquiries deleted is somebody that literally followed what I said. So the information I'm giving y'all tonight, like this is an average person that literally did what I told her to do. So as long as y'all do what I tell y'all to do, y'all will literally get results. It's as simple as that. Bankruptcy deleted. This is one of my students as well. I'm going to give you information tonight. If you just follow instructions, you'll be able to get results. I had a separate student, one of my students, I helped them basically sue one of the credit bureaus. They got a settlement check. Different student, charge off deleted. Different student, child support deleted. Collection deleted. 6 late payments corrected. So those of y'all that know a little bit about credit, you know, when it comes to late payments, sometimes it might be a situation where you're going to delete the entire account. Sometimes it will be a situation where you want to correct the actual late payment. So we're going to walk through the law and how my student that I just posted right here corrected those. And he said, what, under 4 months. So, and then the CFPB response is there. So, you know, the receipts is right there. Repo deleted, again, different student. I say that to say that y'all could do it too. I like interaction. So if you could drop a 1 in the chat, if you believe you can do it too. I just want to see them ones and we'll go from there. So step number 1, we want to make sure we're building a perfect credit profile. We're going back to the basics. Like I said, some of this may be review for some of y'all. Maybe some of y'all haven't really tapped into credit like that. But once we get to Q&A, you know, you can ask me the questions that you need to ask me. So this is basically the pie of your FICO score. There's your FICO score. There's your Vantage score, Vantage 3.0 when you go into Credit Karma. Those are 2 different scoring systems. So just to run through it real quick, 35% is payment history. So pretty much over a third of your score is payment history. So basically, if you got 1, 2, 3 late payments, your credit is pretty much cooked. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you want to pay attention and do what I say so that you can get back on track and be able to fix your credit, leverage it to get the funding that you need. I know this group is mainly based on funding. So, you know, you need that personal credit so you can leverage that. 30% is amounts owed. This is basically your debt utilization rate. They always say that average is 30% utilization rate, but I don't want y'all to think as average. You want to look at it like single digits or less. When I'm talking about funding clients, and this is something y'all can use too. When I'm talking about funding clients, I told them it's got to be single digits or less. So when you're looking at your debt utilization rate, think about like 9% or less. Don't look at the average of what people say. So if you look at 35% and 30%, 2/3, damn near 2/3 of your credit report is structured based off of your payment history and your debt utilization rate. What that means is that those 2 are very, very important. So you want to protect that, whether it's for yourself or for your clients. 10% is new credit. What that means is hard inquiries. If y'all don't know what a hard inquiry is, it's basically whenever you apply for new credit, you get a hard inquiry. It's going to have a month and a year based off of when that was pulled. Like if you go to auto dealership, a lot of times they run the heck out of people's credit. So you're going to get a lot of hard inquiries over there. If you don't know how to remove hard inquiries, I'm gonna go over that today, and you can literally turn that into a business. I got students that just literally focus on hard inquiries making money. So y'all could definitely do that too. 15% length of credit history. So you want to make sure that you have a decent amount of credit history. Y'all are into funding, so I'm pretty sure y'all know about trade lines. So you can do that at the end if you don't have a lot of history on your report. And then 10% is credit mix. So you want to have revolving accounts. You want to have installment accounts, which are going to be like your student loans. Revolving is going to be like the credit cards. You want to have personal loans and things like that. So you just want to have a good mix, because someone that has a good credit score doesn't necessarily mean that they have good credit. They just have the score, but your credit score does not matter, which brings me into my next point. I said this like, I want to say 2021. I used to have a podcast that I would upload a lot to. I say your credit score does not matter. I had a lot of people in my DMs just on some what do I mean by that and all that. And that goes back to what I was saying. It's more about the structure of the report, how you structure your credit profile. So just like a high level view as review, or if you don't know about the process, number one, what you want to do, like this is step by step. You can literally screenshot this and just follow it. Number one, you want to grab your consumer reports. Yeah, you can look on Credit Karma for an example. You can look at Identity IQ, the other monitoring, but typically I would recommend that someone goes to annualcreditreport.com. I have my team that does the credit repair side of things, and we use the Identity IQs and all that. But if I'm taking on a personal client, like I'm doing it myself, I'm going to get their actual reports. I'm going to log into their Experian. So you can go to your Experian, their Experian, if you're doing it from a business perspective. But the main point, you want to get your consumer reports. So get all three of them. And then number one, the first thing that you want to do, you want to make sure that all your personal identifiers are updated. So what does that mean? This means removing old addresses, old names, and things like that. You want to basically not look like you're unstable. If you got a bunch of names, a bunch of addresses, and things like that, one, you could look unstable. Number two, some of those items could be tied to negative accounts. So you want to just make sure all those personal identifiers are updated. And then the main thing, which a lot of people may go through, is removing all derogatory remarks. So that could be all the items I just showed y'all earlier that I have students deleting. It could be hard inquiries, charge-offs, collections, etc. And my thing is that consumer laws are the best way to do it because it has legal standing. Yeah, you see stuff about like factual disputing, Metro 2 is out there and all that, but consumer laws is what allows you to actually have legal standing if you decide to go that route and actually sue the company or sue the debt collectors, whatever the situation is going on. And then the step after that, if you have no negatives, obviously you want to build a well-rounded credit profile to maximize your points in all categories. Okay, somebody go on mute. I think I heard somebody talking. But the name of the game is pretty much maximizing the amount of points that you can get. So don't leave any points on the table. Going back to what I said about average utilization rate is 30%. Don't stop at 30%. Try to get to single digits, so you want to maximize your points. So let's talk about payment history because, again, it is 35%, which is over a third of your score. So the reality is you can do goodwill letters, but I prefer, and our company, we use consumer laws. So after the training, you shouldn't have an issue maintaining 100% payment history. It's not going to be like, oh, I send this letter out and it's guaranteed. You may have to do it a couple times. So keep that in mind. So I say that to say, as you go through the presentation, or if you even ask me questions, you should have the knowledge to take control of your consumer report. It won't be overnight, but you'll have the tools that you need to move forward. Debt utilization, like I told y'all, just as a review, 30% is damn near a third of your score. It's pretty much how much credit is being used in comparison to your overall credit limit. Second point, like I said, remember average recommended is 30%, aim for single digits. I'm hearing noise in the back. Can I mute everybody on up?
Tori, that's Tori mic. Tori, you can mute your mic.
Okay, hold on, let me go back.
Oh yeah, you can because you got host. I can't do it.
Okay, no problem. Let me see if I could. Hold on, mute. Okay. Okay, I got it. All right, that was a key distracting me, but no problem. All right, so you want to know your dates. So understanding the relationship between or among your due date, your closing or statement date, and reporting date is very, very important. So your due date, self-explanatory, it's when the bill's due. Your closing or statement date, it's when the date is the date that closes that the billing cycle will be reported to the CRAs. If you don't know what a CRA is, it's a consumer reporting agency. Basically, is the credit bureaus. Reporting date is the date that it actually reports to the CRAs. And then lenders, one thing you got to remember, lenders usually do give you a grace period, so you don't always have to technically pay by the due date, but you want to do your due diligence. Basically, the strategy with it is make sure that your utilization rate stays low after you pay by the due date and past that closing date, so it reports as low utilization to the CRAs. All right, so just some things on how to actually reduce your utilization rate if you're suffering from a high utilization rate. Credit limit increase. Obviously, if you get a higher credit limit, you're using less because you got more overall. You could see what you can get with a pre-approval through a place like Happy Money or SoFi. There's other lenders out there. They could possibly pay that debt down for you. You can get a new credit card if everything else is good for you. You know, again, you're adding more credit. You could be added as an AU onto someone's card. And then this group is about funding. So obviously, if you got a 0% business credit card, you know, you pay that off and you're taking that stress off of your personal side. Let's say you want to hide your utilization rate. So this is something that I used to speak about back in the day, and pretty much what you can do. So some banks allow you to change your due date. It's not going to be every bank, but the basic instruction of what this is you would divide your credit limits in half and then make them due 2 weeks apart. So like, let's say you got one 10K card that's due on the 1st, you got two 5K cards that are due on the 15th. So they do 2 weeks apart. When the 1st is about to be due, you would take the money off the credit cards for the ones that you have that's due on the 15th, use that to pay the ones that are due on the 1st. When the closing date and the reporting date are happening, maybe by the 5th or the 6th, it'll report as 0% or low utilization, you know, whatever it is. And then when the 15th comes, you basically just rotate it. So it's like rotating balances. Like I mentioned earlier, I do have a YouTube. If you just go to my playlist, there's manufacturer spending. It has like over 100 videos on there. It'll kind of explain more about that. Don't stress yourself out about your utilization rate necessarily if you're not actively applying for anything. I know life happens, so just a word on that. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're still with me. I just want to make sure nobody's sleeping. I'll take a water break. All right, so length of credit history. So pretty much it's 15%, like we said. 15% isn't going to kill your score, but you don't want to sleep on your length of credit history. I would recommend you have at least 4+ years of history. Like I say, you could look at Credit Karma as an estimate, but it's not your FICO. So just remember that. If you need more age, get an AU. And then new credit, that's going to be hard inquiries, like I said. Pretty much if you have too many hard inquiries, you got to look at it like you're basically looking thirsty to the lenders. That's the way you got to look at it. And I would recommend not having more than 4 per CRA before you go for that funding sequence. And then I'm going to teach y'all how to delete hard inquiries. So if you don't already know how to delete them, it'll help you. As y'all saw in the beginning, I showed you one of my students that deleted. She deleted like 37, I think, in 6 hours. So yeah, it's not rocket science. Credit mix, 10% isn't going to kill your score again, but a lot of people disregard it because a lot of people that don't know about credit, they'll just be like, oh, my credit is good because my score is over 700, but you want to make sure you have that mix. Like I said, people have a high credit score with no mix of accounts, and they're going to be confused why they're getting denied if they're not reading the adverse action letter. So you want to aim to have at least 10 positive reporting accounts. So that includes installment loans, revolving accounts. And then, like I said, you want to have primary trade lines, which are your accounts as well as AUs. So I'm not going to read everything on here, but you can just take a quick screenshot. These are just some credit builders. With our credit repair service, we typically give these different accounts to our clients that they can go and apply for. A lot of people know about the whole Navy Federal pledge loan thing, but we also utilize a Hughes Federal Credit Union as well. So yeah, hopefully you got a picture of that. So that's just a little bit on the building side. If y'all have any questions when we get into Q&A, you can ask. But number 2 is basically how to delete any negative items on your credit report using consumer laws. So number 1, I need y'all to commit to understanding that any item can be deleted. I know a lot of times people that aren't in these types of groups that like y'all are in Breeze groups, I'm pretty sure y'all mindset is different from like the average person, but drop one in the chat if y'all got me. You believe that you can delete any item. Like I showed y'all people deleting every item, basically. Just drop a 1 in the chat if you actually believe it. Okay. All right, so a little commercial break real quick. We will not have time to go over everything, but like I said, I literally have like over 2,000 videos on YouTube, so you can go ahead and look that up at your convenience. Has anyone heard of the Fair Credit Reporting Act? This is 15 USC 1681. I feel like y'all have. Let me say, has anyone not heard of it? It's probably a better question. Has anyone not heard of it? Has anyone heard of it? That's what we're going to focus on today for the most part. The Fair Credit Reporting Act. Do y'all know what that is? 15 USC 1681.
Yes.
Hold on. Okay, I got a yes. Okay, I see a yes in the chat now. My bad, I've been ignoring the chat. Just been saying comment. All right. So that's what we're going to talk about. So 15 USC 1681. So when you go to the law, you see at the top it says congressional findings and statement of purpose. What that means is basically Congress found something on that was happening, and then this is the whole purpose of why they released it. So I want to just focus on the bottom, really, B. It basically, like the whole purpose of it is to make sure that reasonable procedures are being maintained. When we look at, let's just look at, the top. It says, a Congress makes the following findings. The banking system is dependent upon fair and accurate credit reporting, right? And they're talking about the fact that inaccurate credit reporting impairs the efficiency of the banking system, and it basically is, it just messes up the whole system is what they're essentially saying. If you look at number 4, it says there's a need to ensure that consumer reporting agencies, which I said earlier are credit bureaus, they exercise their great responsibilities with fairness and respect the consumer's right to privacy. So remember that, that's important. But the main thing I want y'all to take out of it is the reasonable procedures. Because when we talk about litigation with the FCRA, when you understand the procedure that's supposed to happen, that's more so how you can have a reasonable claim to actually bring up in court against the credit bureaus. It's a little technical, but it's not, impossible. But just keep that in mind. Reasonable procedures. You want to think about what is going on. Are they doing an investigation and things like that? So I won't break down the whole FCRA, but we'll cover what you need to get results, right? The main thing is getting those results. So administrative process, if you don't know what that is basically your route towards getting your desired result as far as the deletion. Let's keep it simple. So number 1, you're going to send your notice of dispute. Or if you're dealing with like a collection, you will send a debt validation. So that would be under a different law, which is called the FDCPA, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That would be 15 USC 1692. Our main focus is on the FCRA today, so 1681. So when I'm talking about the notice of dispute, some laws that you want to look at are 15 USC 1681I, which is, you want to think about I and think of investigation. That's basically the investigation section, right? And it's basically called a procedure in case of disputed accuracy. Procedure in case of disputed accuracy. We're going to look at one of the parts that I think you should utilize in your letters. It's literally in our SOPs for my credit business, so you definitely should be using it. And then 15 USC 1681E. So this is the compliance procedures. One of the ones I like there is 1681EB, the maximum possible accuracy law. So just keep that in mind as well. And then what I said about the FDCPA, 15 USC 1692G. So that's going to be your debt validation law. So once you sent out that notice of dispute, the whole purpose of your notice of dispute is, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. You pulled your credit reports, you're looking at the information. I'm pretty sure as you look at your report, there's going to be some information that's either inaccurate or incomplete. So those are things that you want to look for. As soon as that happens, what you're doing now, you're writing a notice of dispute to the bureaus or the CRAs, letting them know, like, okay, I found this on my report. I'd like to request a reinvestigation. And the reason why it's a reinvestigation and not investigation is because before they even publish information on your report, this goes back into the procedures. Before they even publish information on your report, they were supposed to do an investigation. So if you go to 15 USC 1681I, you'll see it says reinvestigation. So that's where that reinvestigation comes from. So let's say you send it out. They say the typical verified, which is what they're going to do sometimes. You'll send your method of verification notice. So the whole purpose of this is questioning how the information was verified, because they have the automated system that just says, oh, verified, but it's not anyone actually doing an investigation. So 15 USC 1681I number 7, that's what we want to pay attention to in terms of the method of verification notice. I got a YouTube video. If you just search method of verification and my name on there, it'll break it down more in depth, like a whole video, like I'm going line by line, all that. And then the step after that, you can send more letters, but I recommend if you actually have a claim where relief could be granted, you can go ahead and sue them. And one piece of advice I recommend that y'all do, this is in our SOPs as well with my VAs. Each step, I would recommend that you submit a CFPB complaint. So CFPB, if you don't know, for anyone that's here or anyone watching the recording, it's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And basically, they're supposed to be like the people that govern the credit bureaus, like their misconduct and things like that. So it's not like a guaranteed thing, but it's good to do a CFPB complaint, especially if you're deciding or if you're thinking about going ahead to sue the bureaus, because you show that you attempted to resolve the conflict in private before you brought it to the public, which is in court. State Attorney General complaint as well. I recommend that you submit that as well. You can submit a BBB complaint. We see a lot of success doing that with collections, and then OCC complaint as well is pretty good. So I recommend that you do as many of those as you can, just to add extra pressure to your letters. Again, if you don't know about credit, I could do the same thing for client 1 and client 2. Maybe client 1 got it deleted, client 2 got a told verified. So it's one of those things you got to look at it from the mindset of, I'm just going to keep on going and just be persistent. Looking at it like a boxing match. If somebody comes to me and they're just like, okay, fix my credit or something. Boxing matches aren't just predictable like that, unless they already wrote the script or whatever. But it might be a situation, maybe the knockout's in the first round. Maybe there's no knockout. Maybe it goes a distance. Maybe it's a knockout in the 7th round. So I want y'all to just have that mindset to look at it like that. All right, so let's look at 1681I, like I said. So 15 USC 1681I, procedure in case of disputed accuracy, like I told y'all, as y'all can see right there, like I said, reinvestigation. It's not investigation, reinvestigation, because the whole purpose of how the FCRA was constructed and what reasonable procedures are is that these bureaus, they're supposed to already do an investigation before they even put the item on there. That's why we have a law like 1681EB, which is talking about the maximum possible accuracy law. So I recommend that you put this section in your notice, in your request for a reinvestigation. So keep it simple, right? So 15 USC 1681I A1A. As you see right there, I'll just kind of read a summary of it. It says if the completeness or accuracy. So if you look at your report, you see something's not complete, you see something's not accurate of any item of information. What does any item of information mean? Any item of information can be your personal information. Any item of information can be a charge off. It could be a collection. Any item of information. There's no restriction on what it's talking about. Whatever's on your damn credit report. You know what I'm saying? So look at it in that aspect. If any item of information in a consumer's file, you're the consumer if you don't know what that means. At a consumer reporting agency, it's disputed, right? So your dispute, like I said, is the notice of dispute. That letter that you're creating where you're asking them to do a reinvestigation is disputed by the consumer, and the consumer notifies the agency directly. What is this? This is you sending a letter. You go to your post office, you do it online, however you do it, right? Or indirectly. They said the agency shall. If you look up the term shall means that They have to do it. It's not optional. May means it's optional. Shall means that they have to do it. They shall conduct a reasonable reinvestigation, right? They're supposed to conduct a reasonable, they're not supposed to conduct a reasonable investigation. It's a reinvestigation because they were already supposed to do an investigation when they put that information there in the first place to determine if the disputed information is inaccurate and record the status, blah, 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 before the end of the 30-day period, etc. So that's basically what the law is saying. And this law is very, very powerful because you can use this law as your foundation towards going through a litigation situation. All right, so how to write a dispute letter. I recommend you write your letters. Don't just copy and paste. Obviously, put this in your letter, but include these elements. Obviously your name, address, date, last four of your social, and then make your demand and reference the items in question and the relevant laws. So to keep it simple, you're literally requesting a reinvestigation per 15 USC 1681I, and then let them know, like the law says, delete this item in 30 days after the investigation is done. Don't overcomplicate the process. Read the law and then what you're asking them to do within that law. So let's talk about specific items. So going back to what I said about late payments, it could be a situation where you're deleting the entire account. It could be a situation where you're correcting it and you're keeping the account because of history or whatever situation you're doing it for. So you can correct late payments on an account and keep it or delete the entire account, like I said. Within our business, we've specifically had success with 1681B number 2, which is a permissible purpose law. We've also had success with 1681C-2, block of information law, and then also the opt-out law. That's not the FCRA, but it's 15 USC 6802. So that's worth looking at as well. So I'd recommend you create customized letters for both the creditor and appropriate CRAs, depending on what you're doing. And then, like I always said, submit a CFPB complaint, state attorney general, etc. Be persistent. There's no guarantee it'll be deleted immediately. You could also, if you're using FTC report, you can go that route. If you want to submit a goodwill letter, go ahead, but you got consumer laws. So let's talk about actually correcting it. So you may have seen people talk about this online. 15 USC 1666B, timing of payments. So it says a creditor may not treat a payment on a credit card account under an open-end consumer credit plan as late for any purpose. So a lot of people just stop at that part, right? And one of the ads I'm running, actually, I literally explained this law, and people that know what it is, like they knew, like, okay, he's actually explaining it more than most people explain it. So when you read an entire thing, it's basically saying that the creditor, or let's say whoever is reporting your late payment, let's say it's Chase or Citibank or whatever, they're basically supposed to adopt reasonable procedures. They're supposed to follow the requirements under 1637B. So you can write that down and look it up on your own time. But they basically have to make sure that they mail or deliver that your state, including your statement to you, no later than 21 days before the due date. So how do we use this to our advantage, and why is it powerful? We use it to our advantage because what I recommend that y'all do, if it's for yourself or your clients, you want to get out of paperless billing, because when you're enrolled in paperless, they can have the argument like, we sent it to you online. But if you get out of paperless billing and you're saying that you want your statements mailed to you, that's where at the point they have to mail it to you. But furthermore, this is where some people don't understand it. Furthermore, if they're claiming that they mailed something to you, we need a tracking ID for that. They're just going to do regular mail. They're not going to have a tracking ID for that. So the same way that you have the green return receipt when you do certified mail, that's what you're requesting for them to send to you. So this is how, I teach my students and how they've had success correcting late payments. You saw the student I posted earlier. I think it was 6 late payments he corrected. But yeah, that's how you want to approach those late payments. So hard inquiries, like I said, you can delete them pretty easily for the most part. So you could delete hard inquiries that are not tied to open accounts. So if it's not an open account on your credit report, it's good to go. And that goes again on the business side. You obviously have exceptions like a Discover, Capital One, there may be more, but yeah, for the most part, you could delete those hard inquiries that are not tied to open accounts. So Experian is pretty much the easiest to delete. It should be gone within 24, 72 hours. I always tell people, now I'm teaching, I say this on my YouTube, you can literally start a side hustle deleting these for people. If you don't even want to know all these consumer laws, you can literally just delete hard inquiries. So this is a working number, 1-800-493-1058. Literally just ask to be transferred to the fraud department. You'll dispute them as unauthorized fraudulent inquiries when you get a rep, and then you read them off. You can literally say this: I pulled my credit report. I noticed some unauthorized fraudulent inquiries I would like to dispute. After you read them off, they may ask, oh, do you want to put a fraud alert? You could say, oh, no, I'm about to apply for something. And then you'll wait 24 to 72 hours. They should be gone. Or if it's not gone within that time frame, then, just keep going again and again. So the reason you can dispute them as fraudulent or victim of identity theft is because they did not receive your written consent to furnish the information. So when it comes to TransUnion or Equifax, so typically what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to mail it. And Equifax, I would mail it too. These are some previous fax numbers that were used. They may or may not still be working ones, but I would recommend that you mail Equifax as well. And you want to go ahead and mail the FTC report. And the law that you typically want to use is 15 USC 1681 C-2. That's a TransUnion address right there. You can Google the other ones. But basically in the personal statement, you can just use what I put there if you want. You don't need the 18 USC 1028A. You can include it, but the main thing is the 15 USC 1681 C-2 law. That's the FCRA law, and it should be deleted within the 4 business days. And you want to do a certified mail so that you have proof of when they received it, and you can calculate the 4 business days after that. Alternatively, I know some people, they might not want to go that route because they're thinking like they're scared of identity theft, all that. You can still get results sending a permissible purpose letter using a 1681 B-2. So keep that in mind as well. Collections. So my personal recommendation, I don't recommend you pay them because the turnover and how they actually attempt to collect triggers FDCPA violations. And you can actually, sue these third-party debt collectors. And a lot of times what'll happen as you go through the settlement, they'll waive the debt and you may get a settlement check as well. So one thing you got to remember is that paying that collection will not necessarily help your credit score unless you got an agreement that the entire account is going to be deleted. I've seen some people, they said like they paid it down, but the collection still stayed there. And I'm like, you should have got in writing that they were going to delete it. So best practice, I always say send a debt validation notice first, referencing a 1692G. Sometimes you might get it deleted that way because they know that if it were to go to court, the turnover process, a lot of times I have a clause in there that says that the information is not 100% accurate. The turnover from the original creditor, quote unquote, to the third party collector. And then you could dispute the collection, or you can go the route of suing them, like I said, to get the debt waived and a settlement check. But, that's a more elaborate process. I got some of that on my YouTube channel as well, if you want to go watch. All right, so let's say they said verified after you send your first notice. What do you do now? First of all, don't panic. What you can do, like I said, you want to focus on that method of verification. So 15 USC 1681I number 7. So as you see right there, the law basically says a CRA or the credit bureau, they're supposed to look at the word shall. Remember I said that they have to do it. They shall provide to you, the consumer, a description referred to in 6B-III. So you can go and look that up as well, by no later than 15 days after receiving a request from the consumer for that description. So basically that method of verification, you're asking them to provide certain information in terms of how they did their investigation. But remember, the spoiler alert, they don't do an investigation. They just have this automated system. It's so many consumers sending in these requests, these disputes, they're not going to do an actual investigation. So just do what you will with that information. Let's say round 2 fails. What do you do now? So you should sue them. That's my recommendation. That's not legal advice, but that's what I would recommend. So I had a one-on-one client. Basically, he kept disputing his bankruptcy and he wanted to know how he can go about suing them. So I gave him some information as far as how to do that. He got the item deleted. It got settled outside of court and he got paid $1,000. And then I had a different student that actually sued TransUnion. So this one was Experian, but I had a different student that sued TransUnion. He didn't get a settlement check, but he got his items deleted. And he said some of them were actually he said these were not all negative accounts. So some of them were actually positive accounts as well. So just keep in mind that when you do these disputes and you're actually reading between the lines and understanding what they're supposed to do with these reasonable procedures, you're the one that's in power if you press forward with that. We won't go in depth with that because as far as litigation, so I want to keep it simple as far as FCRA. And I'm not providing legal advice, but everything I'm saying on here is just facts, right? I don't want to dabble into legal advice, but your claim, if you're going through litigation, should have the following elements. Obviously, you're going to have the legal basis. So you got to identify the legal basis for your claim. Is that 1681 is that 1692? Like, what's the statute that you're suing based off of? And then, you got to provide a detailed and specific account of events and how they violated the legal right you're seeking to enforce, your relief. And then just word of advice, if you do fail to have a claim, like you're not on your P's and Q's, they're most likely going to hit you with the Rule 12b-6 defense motion, which basically says that you don't have a claim where relief can be granted. So just keep that in mind as you're moving forward. So with great power comes great responsibility. So all this information I gave y'all, just do good with it. So thank y'all, remain blessed. And now we're into Q&A. Oh, shoot, my bad. Someone was in the waiting room. But yeah, if y'all got any questions, we can go ahead and get straight into that.
How you doing, Michael?
I'm blessed, man. How you living?
I can't complain. I have some late payments that the first process that I did was they had inaccurate information on the reports. Like, they had 3 different bureaus showing different late payments. So I asked them to remove the inaccurate information on all the bureaus, and all they did was they updated all of it. Then it slammed my credit. So then on round 2, I sent another because they still had it wrong. So then I did it again, and they updated it again, and they updated it wrong again. So then I went to the CFPB, showed them the proof, showed them the receipts, how they were, and they still didn't do nothing about it. That's where I'm at. Now it's 2 separate credit cards. Now at this point, they're both paid off. I don't owe no money on them, but the late payments are killing me. What should I do first to get them off after doing what I did already?
What law did you reference in your dispute letters?
I use the 6166B.
And you sent that to who? The bureaus or the creditor?
I send it out to both of them.
Okay. So what did the creditor say?
The creditor just, how they do it. Like, no, we verified everything, and that was it. They didn't.
Do you have did they mail you the response? Do you have that, or did you throw it away?
No, they emailed it.
Okay, so you have the email. You have access to the email.
I got access to the email. Yeah, it's probably on this. If I dig for it, it's in there, saved somewhere.
Okay, I mean, I would keep that piece of documentation because if you do want to go through suing them, basically with 1681I, like I just went over with y'all, the reasonable procedures, what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to do their reinvestigation. Part of that, they're supposed to contact the creditor. So the fact that it wasn't corrected correctly, it's either going to be the bureaus or the creditor that's held liable, because basically if the bureaus try to say that we did our investigation, they went and asked Chase or whoever it was, but they just listened to whatever Chase or them said and then they corrected it wrongly, they're still at fault because they didn't do an investigation to make sure that Chase wasn't capping, basically. So that responsibility of the creditor is 1681 S-2. I would look up that law. So that's how you could hold them liable. But as far as moving forward, I would look into those responses that you got, like the email that you said you got from the creditor. I would have the responses from the bureaus. You have those responses as far as I'm updating it incorrectly, right?
Yeah, from the CFPB, they said that everything was verified,
Okay.
but they
So
updated and verified. So
I mean,
my whole thing was like they had like it was like bad. Like they had on all three bureaus they had like 60 days, 2 months in a row. That can't be. You can't be 60 days, 2 months in a row. Has to be like 30, 60, 90. And all they did was update it. They didn't update it correctly and they did it twice. They like hit my credit for like 70 points twice.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, if you have the responses and everything, I would, based off what I'm hearing, I can't physically see what you have, but based off what I'm hearing, I would file a suit against them. You just got to figure out what laws you're using. So, like I said, you said you use 1666B,
Yeah.
but if you're filing a lawsuit against the FCRA, the 1666B is not FCRA code.
All right.
Yeah, so you just got to look under if you're going to go that route, you can get it with the consumer lawyer as well if they're willing to take that on. But I would look under the FCRA, like I just showed y'all 1681I, like really study that law and what's supposed to happen. Based off of what you're telling me right now, like relate that to 1681I. You sent a notice of dispute. They're supposed to do an investigation. Somehow they updated information and it was wrong. Either they updated it wrong or they just listened to the creditor that gave them wrong information updated. So then now that becomes liable on the bureaus for listening to wrong information, but also the creditor because they're reporting inaccurate information. So now that's 1681S-2. So you got to just sit with the laws and just kind of really paint the case of what's going on.
Okay. Thanks a
Does
lot.
that make
Appreciate
sense?
it. Yeah, no, it made a lot of sense. Yeah,
Okay.
when you don't know about the consumer law, you listen to other people and then, I probably should have attacked it another way. I shouldn't have
No,
probably used.
1666B is good, but what I'm saying, like, if you're gonna, this is not legal advice. If you're gonna sue them, you could look up literal cases 1681I. You want to kind of focus on the procedure of what went on. And the tricky thing too about late payments, especially if it's like a open late payment or so, when I'm talking to clients, I kind of let them know that whenever we're suing, it's more so for getting that item deleted versus like with a late payment where it could be a situation of, correcting it. So that's kind of where late payments are a little bit tricky when it comes to stuff like bankruptcy, that invasion of privacy. And then just the procedure again, they're supposed to contact the furniture. Bankruptcy is kind of an easy case because they didn't get the information, from the bankruptcy court. So with late payments, you may have to keep disputing, but you can look at the procedure, like I said. The fact that, based off what you're telling me, I'm only going based off what you told me. The fact that they updated the information wrong, I don't know who's in the wrong, either the creditor or the bureaus, but someone's wrong and someone has to be held liable for that.
Remember I in the beginning I said that the accounts were paid, right? So I paid them and I closed them because I didn't want to deal with them no more. So I paid my cards off because they were active cards. So I paid them off, um, and they're closed. You think I should just like remove the whole account, or should I still attack the late payments? Because the accounts are like
I don't
closed
know.
now.
I don't know what I don't know if that's a new, old, like I don't know how that will affect your credit. So you got to make that judgment for yourself. If it's like an older account, you just got to realize that you're gonna lose history. You know,
But like, won't it help my credit? Because if I
it can help
remove
your
the
credit
whole,
at the same time, but like let's say it's a 13-year account and everything else is like 1 year. Obviously, you're losing age. So
yeah, I'm just thinking that once the late payments go away, it'll help my credit.
it will, yeah, for sure. But at the same time, you got to remember you're doing two things. You're still removing positive. I'm giving you the scenario if it is
Yeah,
one of the older accounts. But yeah, definitely removing a late payment will help. It's 35% of your score, So
got you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Does anybody have any questions?
I have something.
So
Is it a way that, because I know everybody don't know the consumer laws and want to kind of study them and just want to use it to get results. Is it a way that you can give templates or verbiage on how that law is supposed to be written out in the dispute letter?
what do you mean by that?
So like so the round one letter, the round two letter, like what those letters actually look like and how to use, because I know you gave out the laws, but how do we use these laws in the letter? What does that verbiage look like?
Oh, I mean, I got templates with my students, but like a basic thing I would say, just going back to the presentation, I tell people not to make it, too deep. So literally put the law and then be like, what's it called? I'm writing a notice of dispute. These are the items that I want to dispute. And the main thing is because I know people overthink about it. So literally just copy and paste the law that I said and just say that I'm looking to dispute these items and then just literally list it. It doesn't have to be too deep. Yeah. Oh, no, I'll say go to my YouTube too, because I got videos on there. There's I think it's a DIY Credit University playlist. I literally got a letter that I'm walking. I'll try to find it and maybe I'll send it to you. But I would say it's on my YouTube for sure as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
To elaborate on Bree's question, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say I'm gonna use 1681 I7. Let's just say.
Okay.
Do I you said keep it simple, so do I just put the item and just put the 1681I, or do I have to put verbiage along with it from the law in there?
Well, how would you recommend that you do it? I just want to see what your thought process.
Because I'm real thorough, me personally, I'd probably want to put like at least a line or two from the law in it. But I just want to know, do you need to do that? Because a lot of people say that once you put the law in there, they already know what the law is, so you don't have to do that. I just want to know what is the proper way to do it. What do you think? Like, how would you do it? How would you guide me to do it?
Yeah, so going back to what I said, I would just make it super simple because I know when I started in 2021, I went through this as well. Like, okay, do I got to do this? Do I got to do this? Do I got to do this? But when you simply think about it, when we talk about just a 1681I claim, the reinvestigation, I could literally put a simple letter. I'm writing a notice of dispute to dispute these items based off of 1681I, A1A. And then these are the items. I send that. I already triggered the reinvestigation. Whether they know what I'm talking about or not, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to explain all this, and that's your waste of time if you want to do all that. And I used to waste my time too. So I understand that. But I would, as far as your question, 1681 I7. So this is how I would do it. I would say, like, obviously you're using that as like your second notice. So I would say, what's today's date? So today's like the 8th. So I sent you my first letter, which you received on September 8th, and you didn't, correct it. Now I'm requesting a method of verification pursuant to 1681 I7. And then the same thing, I wouldn't, you can just copy and paste the law right there. But as you read the law, it's going to tell you what that you need from them within that 15-day period. So you'll let them know, again, do this within this period. And then that's it. That's pretty much what it is. And you got to think just high level, like you sent out the first notice. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. They're already violated. You're sending out the second notice, referring back to what you did on the first notice. I sent you this notice. You received it on September 8th. So you're explaining the situation in the letters. Pretend like a judge is literally looking at this. They're not going to want to go to court with you if you have everything on point. So you send that 1681I number 7 notice. You can make it as deep as you want or as concise as you want. You send that, have a green return receipt for that as well, because you want to be able to prove the violation. And then you can send a pre-litigation notice, or you can go straight to file the lawsuit, or bring it to a consumer attorney, see what they say if they want to take it on, essentially. But I would say don't think about it too deep. But if y'all, like I said, if y'all want like specific letters, literally go to my YouTube channel. I think it's the DIY Credit University playlist where I go over more of the stuff like line by line. But I just don't want, people to overthink too much about it. And that's why as I'm teaching them more now, I'm more general, because if I'm giving everyone the same exact thing, we're just gonna have a bunch of robots that sending the same exact letter. So when I say just keep it simple, just keep it simple.
At what point when you dispute something that you would turn to the CFPB? Like obviously round one, you're not gonna go to the CFPB. At what point do you involve
I
them?
would.
In round one?
Yeah, that's part of our SOPs with my VS. And that's why I recommend that people do. Yeah.
Okay. So you like say, let's just say I'm disputing a collection, and I send out a debt validation letter to a collection. Let's just say Al and V funding, and I put 1692G. So what do I do with the CFPB? I send them a copy of the letter I sent to the collection agency.
Yeah. So with collection specifically, we also have like a specific thing that I told them to fill out. But basically, that you're filing the CFPB complaint against the actual debt collector. So they'll notice that you're sending with the 1692G. I'm requesting validation of debt. And then once you have that letter that you sent over to the LVMV funding, submit the same thing as a CFPB complaint. And then the verbiage, I wouldn't think too deep about it as much. Just kind of you're filing this request of debt validation essentially, and you don't need to dispute with the bureaus, especially if you're gonna sue, if you plan on to sue the debt collectors for the FDCPA violations. I wouldn't. This is the only reason why I wouldn't dispute with the credit bureaus as well, because the instructions, the procedures of the FCRA is that they're supposed to notify the furnisher. So let's say the Experian or whatever notifies the debt collector, or the debt collector will use as an excuse saying that the reason why they contacted you is because the Experian told them to contact you, or per se. And a lot of times with the FDCPA, the violations that you're using against them is the fact that they're not supposed to contact you. So it could be a conflict of interest is what I'm saying. If you're planning to sue them, that's more technical. I don't want to confuse people. That's more technical.
No, I understand what you're saying. Like
okay,
you're setting them up basically. Like
yeah,
you're following the procedure to also get it removed, but you're also following the procedure if you want to sue them after.
Yeah, with
that's
the debt collector.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Okay.
I'm gonna let's see if somebody else wants to jump in. I could keep you here all night. Does anybody else have any questions? Maybe they have their mics muted.
Nobody have questions about the consumer laws, how to remove anything using consumer laws or your negative items off your credit report?
No. I have a question. Do you have the laws like on your YouTube page as far as like what each law is for?
For what item specifically? Are you saying like just all different items? Hello? You're on mute if you're talking. I'm not sure if you're talking.
Oh, yes, I was. I'm sorry. Yeah, just all of the different laws like the 1681C-2, 1681I-7. Like, do you have those laws on your YouTube channel as far as like what Bree was saying, like just like a mini template, or not necessarily a template, just like what they're for? Is like, okay, like 1681C is for removing inquiries. 1681I is for late payments, or just something to kind of guide.
You're talking
Like
about
a
like
guide?
yeah, you're talking about like a sheet or something?
Yes, just like a guide on what that law is and what it's for.
Got you. No, the answer is no. I just upload a lot onto YouTube, and as I guess people binge watch it, they can kind of tie it together. But if you have, I mean, we could literally talk about it right now. If you have like specific, like you're just like, okay, what would I use for this scenario? You know, I can literally answer that right now. And you can write it down, I guess.
I think I understand what everybody's asking. Like, what I'm getting out of what everybody's asking is like, what law would you use for inquiries? What law would you use for collections? What law would you use for charge-offs? And then I think we got what law you would use for late payments. I think that's what they're asking. Can you use multiple laws for multiple accounts, or can I think that's what they're asking. Like, can you use one law to take off a collection and a charge off, or are they specifically only for certain things? The
So,
consumer law.
so one thing I would say, you guys are gonna have the recording, so I said rewatch the recording because you know it's in there. But like, let's say collections, I would just stick with 1692G. That's FDCPA. Hard inquiries, Experian, like I said, you can literally call them. You don't have to use a consumer law for that. But if you're gonna dispute with TransUnion and Equifax, like I said in the presentation, that'll be 1681 C-2. When it comes to what other items? Collections, late payment, you know, we went over that. That's in the presentation. You guys will watch the replay.
Charge-offs?
Yeah. Charge off. So technically, okay, let me say this. So technically, 1681I, if you guys like really look at it, is based off procedure. Any item of information. You could use 1681I to delete anything, essentially. But if you want specifics as far as a charge off, one thing that I would recommend that y'all do is request a 1099-C from the actual creditor. Because if it's not like over $600 balance. So that's one route you could take. But then again, 1681I, that's like the overall thing. I don't want y'all to get, you know, too confused with it. Really focus on studying 1681I and what it's asking. When you send out that notice, if they don't answer to fulfill what 1681I is saying, they've officially violated FCRA. So don't make it too deep. And that's kind of my way of how I teach it now to simplify it more. I guess if you look at some of my older videos, probably like 2021, 2022, when I started, it might seem like more technical and stuff, but I'm trying to dumb it down more and just keep it more simple. So that's what I would say. So you don't get too confused, essentially.
And then if the bureau sends you a stall tactic letter or a verified letter, then you want to go ahead and do a method of verification with the 1681 I-7.
That's what I would recommend that you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you say 1691G was?
1692G, that is a validation of debt law.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And do you
Yeah, no
have your
problem.
contact information on the playback of this as far as like your YouTube
You can
channel
see
and
my
all that?
name right there, but the app Mike O. Benjamin, if you just search it out on YouTube, you'll be able to find me. That's an IG as well. And then I don't know, Bree could, I guess, share it with the community.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll post this information in the community like how I do with the other guests, so that y'all can have it and be able to kind of get in contact with them.
Yeah, YouTube superstar though. You just punch in his name, everything gonna come up.
Right.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? I know we getting.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You good? Tori, you good?
Yes, I'm good.
I think the replay should help y'all too, because if you're just getting new to this stuff, the way I was talking about it could seem like what is he talking about? But probably just watch a replay a couple times and watch my YouTube. That'll help. You know, you can pause and do all that. So yeah, if it was a little bit confusing, you know, I apologize about that, but I just want to make it as simple as possible for y'all.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I disputed a bunch of stuff, and sometimes it came off, and sometimes it didn't. But I didn't follow none of these steps. Like, I use different consumer law. So I already learned a bunch of stuff today now. I know what to put for a stall tactic letter now. I know which law to start off with. I know pretty much 1681I you can dispute everything on your profile. You start off with that. So like, yeah, I already learned a lot. I didn't know that you taught me something else too about the late payments. I didn't know that the paperless thing mattered.
Mm.
That's how they got me, because I was paperless. They were sending me emails.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for
No problem.
everything that you say. Thank you to Bree too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I hope we all learned something, Michael. I really truly appreciate it. I'll get in contact with you after the call is off to see just to ask you a few questions, get access to a few things, see how we can work on something. But other than that, everybody good. We got our questions out, right? Tori, Brittany, Sabrina, Richard, we all good.
Yes. Thank you
Yes.
so much for your time.
Yes.
No
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all next week. I had this recording up for y'all in a couple hours. All right.
Y'all may email you the recording once it's done downloading.
Okay, I got you.
All
I
right,
got
sure.
you. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have
Thank
a good
you.
one. Thank you.
Yeah.